Yo, Terry, I heard it's your 70th birthday. Hopefully you're having a good day, even have a better year. Happy 70th. Enjoy.
Mr. Carl Fischer.
What's happening? As you see, I'm not pretty stupid again. Welcome to the Tuesday Night Hang. I'm going to be your cook tonight. We'll make some gumbo. All things musical and majestical. Majestical, is that even a word? Oh my God. I got issues. See what happens when you get quarantined for how long? How long is it now? Anyway, welcome. Looking forward to seeing my friend tonight, Mr. Stephen Wright from LaGrange, Illinois. How about a hand and say hello to my friend Stephen. What's up, Stephen?
How's it going, everybody?
All right. So here we are. Tuesday Night Hang. So we are going to deal with a whole bunch of stuff tonight. The last couple episodes, we've gotten a lot of great questions, actually. Really great questions. Some regarding the guests that we've had and some not regarding guests we had. So we figured, Steve and I were talking last week, and we were figuring on doing a hang this week, just kind of hitting a lot of these things that have been coming up weekly on the old internet world chatter. So anyway, how you doing this week, man? What's going on in Chicago? You keeping warm?
Yeah. It's not a matter of keeping warm, it's keeping dry.
Yeah, you guys been getting killed with the rain, right?
Oh my goodness, yeah. We've been getting hammered.
Oh,
yep. Got a little rain gauge that didn't even stand. Blew halfway across the yard.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you're talking about rain. It's been down here in St. Pete, Florida is where I'm at, right across the bridge from Tampa. And the other day, man, I guess, I don't know, it was Monday. There's a squall came across, which is typical for Florida, but not really this early. Mm-hmm. They gauged in the bay and off the beach between 50 and 60 mile an hour winds. It was absolutely crazy. It was like, at 9 o'clock in the morning, it was sunny. By 9:30, it was like nighttime. But that's kind of what you get when you live down south in Thunderstorm Alley, you know?
Yep.
So, good, man. So everything's been going good. I know you've been working hard this week. And
yeah.
So, you know, got some new things going on this week too, right?
Yeah, just trying to keep up with the questions that we're getting. Everybody seems to be kind of looking forward to the Tuesday Night Hang. It's funny, I was getting text messages yesterday saying, "Hey, I haven't seen a promo yet. Are we having it? Are we having it?"
Yeah, I got a few of them too.
Yeah.
I felt bad because we usually try to do them on Sundays. Mm-hmm. That's why I got this. Oh, this hat, man. I ordered this hat. It's got. I'm a Giants fan. Can you read that?
Oh, you got
glare it out.
Charlie, where's Charlie at?
This is for Charlie, man. This is for Charlie Belcher. He's like, I need more Tampa Bay stuff, and I'm definitely not a Brady guy, being a Giant guy. But I have to give it to Brady. He's pretty amazing, man. I'm not dogging his talents. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying that Brady playing for Tampa is going to be. It's going to be interesting. We'll see. But Charlie, we did a thing. What Steven's referencing there's this Charlie Belcher. What was it? Fox, right, Stephen?
Yeah, it's Fox in Tampa area.
Tampa. Yeah, it was great. Charlie Belcher's awesome. He did a nice spot on. We did a Sunshine City Brass tune down by the riverside, and he actually put that on his show with Fox. But he's like, you're too New Yorked out. You got too much New York stuff going on. So I kind of had to change gears for him. So that's for you, Charlie, if you're there. Hopefully he's checking it out.
That's all right. I'm sure that you needed to have Amazon come to your house anyway, right?
Oh man, Amazon! I'm like Amazon's best customer.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how it is across the nation. I mean, I'm sure watching the news, New York and the Northeast, everybody's socked in still, and here down in Florida, it's definitely been a lot more lackadaisical as far as getting looser. But we're holding steady here. We're staying in as much as we can, and was it like in Chicago? Everybody's still kind of hibernating, right?
Yeah, I haven't been venturing away from the house too much, but yeah, definitely masks and gloves still.
Yeah, man, gotta.
Yep.
For everybody else, and since we're talking about, obviously we always talk about this pandemic just because it's kind of first and foremost on everybody's mind. Yeah, I don't want to harp on that because that's reality. Everybody has to deal with the reality of it. So I'll get into the more musical, mystical thing of kind of being in a pandemic of what's kind of, and these questions have come up too, is, have you seen the music industry, or do you see the music industry change? Has it been changing, especially in this pandemic? I know I've heard a lot of great musicians and a lot of art and just a lot of things I wouldn't be surfing the whole day to. I'm just seeing a lot more creativity, which is a beautiful thing, I think. How do you feel about that, bro?
Yeah, I think that you're starting to see, I think you're starting to see a few different things. Part of it is, people just needing that creative outlet, and just having some type of outlet to reach out to people. But I do agree. Yeah. I think people are having to adjust to the current environment. I've seen people having concerts in their driveway.
Trent, my man, our first episode. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah,
the first episode we had with a guest was Trent Austin from Kansas City, who owns Awesome Custom Brass, and now he's doing, like you said, driveway concerts. It's kind of cool, man.
Yeah, and it's just
Very
people
cool.
are just finding different ways. It's not perfect. I mean, like us, I'm learning this whole streaming world, and I know the video and audio doesn't always line up, and it's not always 100% pretty, but
it's jazz, baby. It's jazz improvisation.
We're just having a conversation. We're learning, and everybody's hanging out with us.
We appreciate everybody coming and hanging with us. That kind of makes us keep on going because you and I talk too much as it is anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't need a reason to get together, but actually having everybody else come and hang with us gives us that reason and kind of brings things to the front, of our thoughts, our forethought of our thoughts. Is that even a saying? But that being said, I got to talk about that for a minute, because one of the things I noticed in the industry, in the music industry, is like, everybody has home studios. Everybody's kind of forced being a musician, if they haven't been already, I'm sure a lot of guys and girls are working on their home studios to practice, So there's been a big incline with people learning the technical aspects, as Maynard Ferguson used to say, the computer, the sounds of the current time on a computer or synthesizer.
Yeah.
But everybody's learning this, including us. I feel pretty fortunate with you because you've had a leg up on a competition. Not that it's competition, but you've had a leg up on the technology standpoint for years with your background. So I've been lucky to piggyback with that. But that being said,
I get something original.
What's that? Go ahead.
I just want it to be original. I mean, everybody's doing, and forced to kind of work in a similar environment. So I'd almost rather have it be original than and have a couple mistakes. you know.
Yeah. No, I get where you're coming at, and I think everybody probably, the general consensus is a lot of people, I don't even notice half the mistakes. So, you know, you're doing a good job that way. But you know, going back to the music thing, you know, the technical aspects of it, everybody's working on their home studio, and there's a lot more. Throughout the last couple of years, I've noticed I'm getting calls to record quite a bit in my home studio, we're in my home studio now. And I noticed, you know, even just recently, I've been getting calls to do sessions now. You know, lay horns on things, and one was a sample session. I'm very fortunate to get these calls. I love getting these calls, but now everybody's kind of along the same lines, and man, it's like I'm paying me 2/3 less of what I would make on a normal session. So guys and girls are going out and doing things for like 2/3 less. You know, which, you know, as an artist and musician, you know, you only have your reputation and your playing and your word. And, you know, when it's 2/3 less of what you normally would work for anyway, that's a hard pill to swallow. You know, I do think on a positive note with people, you know, there's a lot more session work, and people are, you know, are thinking outside the box with technology. I had another gentleman reach out to me. I think he reached out to you too, Stephen, regarding, you know, doing a program for a class, like a clinic workshop, which we go out throughout the United States and do when we can travel. I think the last one we did, was that in January we did?
Yeah, in South
right?
Jersey.
Yeah, we did Jersey in January, which is, why do you go to New Jersey in January? But we did. You got sick. You got sick on that one. You got a cold. Man. Well, you got sick in New York too in December. But yeah, I mean, so I'm getting calls to even do these things virtually, but you know, which is great. You know, a lot of these educators and a lot of these people are thinking outside the box. But I have to say, it's like, your time is still worth money. So, you know, to help out a program or do something, I'm all for that. But, you know, your time is still worth money. So the gist of what I'm trying to get across is, for younger musicians and younger professionals and even seasoned professionals, know your worth. Don't go out for $50 or $100. You know, I mean, because what's going to reciprocate is when we do come back to a normalcy, whatever that normalcy is in society, when we can go out and play again, when we can do sessions with a whole band or a horn section or a percussion section, you know, well, you did it for me for, you know, for rice and beans last week when you were home. Now you're asking for a lobster and a steak, you know, so know your worth. I mean, I'm even seeing people email on Facebook and stuff. Oh, you know, a guy did a post today saying, you know, I went out 7 years ago and pimped my band out for X number of dollars, and now I can never get over that hump. Exactly. So I've been very fortunate. I'm still getting the calls, and I'm not saying that these are negative things, but I'm just I'm thinking differently, because it's going to come back. And when it comes back now, you know, it's like asking my doctor, hey, will you check me out for free, or have a lawyer look at a contract for no money? It's not really going to happen. Well, with music and art, it seems like it's an easy thing. Now, I'm all for throwing music out for a positive feeling, you know, like Down by the Riverside, man. You and I knocked that out. Right. Luis, our drummer, and the great Mike Del Judas on vocals, and Goombi Ortiz. That was on the hip. That was a good time feeling thing. Nothing was asked and nothing was given. It was a beautiful, fun, wheeling thing. Yep. And we didn't make money on it. That wasn't, you know, we all kind of needed that. So that's all positive. But I'm just saying, kind of I don't know, I'm going on a tangent, but I'm just seeing a lot of these reciprocating things come through, like whether it be emails or posts, and or like comes to my email like, hey, can you do this for this? And I'm like, I'd rather not. I'd rather do it for free and have fun than to work for 2/3 less of what I would, or half a, you know, just am I making any sense, or am I just?
No, it's a real problem, and it actually I don't think it started with this particular situation.
With the pandemic, no, it's
Yeah.
jazz musicians especially. We've always shot ourselves in the foot, or musicians in general, but especially jazz musicians. We've always undercut each other. So it's been a pandemic for as long as the music's been around, or musicians been around.
Yeah.
Sorry, but go ahead.
No,
I
and
interrupt.
I think a lot of it has to do with, with social media. Everybody has the desire for that instant gratification, and I think that has a lot to do with it, because then musicians and artists feel the pressure of putting out constant material, because
Sure.
people are afraid that if they're not in your Facebook feed every 30 minutes, that you're going to move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So but you really do have to be careful. I mean, we talk about this all the time, devaluing your own talent.
Yeah.
And you see it in the club industry or record sales even.
What's a record and what's a sale of a record?
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's a good lesson, especially for young people, because
Young people,
you do want to go out and be present and be visible, but you do need to be cautious. Not cautious. You need to be aware, be self-aware enough to know,
Sure.
Somebody, if you pay $4 for this glass of tea one time, and then somebody comes to you and says now it's $8, they're going to remember the time that you gave it to them for $4, like you said.
Yeah. No, it's and I actually another professor, a friend of mine, posted something. It was brilliant. He has a blog out, and I'm afraid to mention people's name because I don't want to incriminate people, because we never talked about this. But one of the things he mentioned, and I find myself doing it too, and I always have to keep myself in check. Am I in check? Check up, wake up. I was going to keep myself in check with, you have so many great musicians now, or they claim to be great, or they might be good, or, who's to say a younger kid, girl or boy, is checking out this guy who says, you have to play this way. This is a way you need to approach playing tenor saxophone. This is the way you approach it. But the guy really doesn't have a resume to do he's never done anything, that is teaching this. And, when we talk, and Maynard Ferguson, a late great jazz trumpet player, talks, or any great workshop or clinician guy, you always open up to clinician like, this is what works for me, take it with a grain of salt. When guys come on a soapbox and say, this is the way you need to do it, and this is why, and they really don't have the playing credentials to back it up, I played with, what have you done? That's the first thing you look at. It's like, I'm not saying, again, I'm not trying to be negative. Maybe they didn't get to play with a major artist and they're still great. That's wonderful. But everything that you can take, it's free on the internet. Take it with a grain of salt. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, same thing with what I'm always rap about. Don't take me too seriously, because come on, I come in wearing hats and stuff. How crazy am I? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so. Take everything for what it is. Learn as much as you can from each person.
Yeah. The other thing too is I get a kick out of guys talking about stuff, and that's one of the things why we don't have a guest this week. Is we got a lot of chatter, for lack of a better word, of well, you played that clip for Terry Warburton, correct?
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
So our friend Terry Warburton, who is mouthpiece maker and trumpet maker, he makes my trumpet, Warburton CF trumpet. He turned 70 Saturday or Sunday. He makes unbelievable mutes. Did you say Dan Miller was on here, Stephen? Before we got on, you said he was on.
I think I saw him interact with the Facebook video. So I'm not
as a
sure.
guy that is serious, and everything he says, you take 110%. That guy's played with everybody. I love that guy. He's one of my favorite trumpet players and human beings. We played with Harry Connick's band, Maynard Ferguson's band. He's led his own groups. He's a great educator. He's always playing. And so, one of the things, so Dan, if you're still here, welcome. Dan's playing one of Terry Warburton's beautiful handmade mutes, and has been involved with Terry with the mutes as well as Roger Ingram. That trumpet section back in the day with Harry Connick was Roger Ingram and my man Dan. So so one of the reasons why we're not having guests this time is we're going to get back into a little bit playing. So it's going to be a little bit more music specific. The times I have played, I've talked about playing blues, right? I guess we talked about, playing. The first time I addressed something was playing off of a blues form, and then the last time I did this type of thing was an extended blues form, really getting to know your vocabulary, question and answer, and having dialogue with improvisation. For the younger people, improvisation is a very mysterious, magical, remember I used the word magical, thing that can be obtainable with the vocabulary. If you want to learn how to speak Spanish, you don't just jump off the plane and there's certain phrases that you need to learn and recognize. Same thing with playing jazz and improvisation. There's certain vocabulary that you really have to have. So talking about the blues and stuff that we've played and talked about, I'd like to move a little bit forward because, again, we've had beautiful comments about, okay, you did the blues. So, I always talk about being your own rhythm section and having a really good time. My time is really bad. I have to work on it. So for instance, it was Terry's birthday, did a live video just of a happy birthday thing. And we had fun with it. I stated the melody, the second chorus, we call it, or go around the chorus. I established the melody blew off the melody, so to speak, played phrases of the melody and played around the melody. And then playing the last, melody, the last chorus, I played some of the melody and some of my own stuff. So, but being able to be at this particular time, you still can't play with a rhythm section, you don't have that live element. So I always talk about this as being your own best rhythm section. Know where those changes come in that song, knowing that song inside and out, knowing the form of that song, and being able to make it sound like having dialogue, not just phrases and notes. If you play phrases and notes, that's great. But it just sounds like phrases. No, it's got to feel good. It's got to have intent. So enough about me talking about it. There's a whole bunch of repertoire being quote unquote instrumentalists playing jazz music called standards. And that's kind of like your grits and gravy. Did I lose you, Steven? Am I totally going off the rails already, or what?
Nah, you're good, man.
All right. I got to keep myself in check, man.
You're just warming up your chops.
Yeah, But so I might stop in the middle of this tune. It's not perfect. And this is the reason why. So, I unfortunately don't have people to play with in a rhythm section with because of obviously what's going on. But I think it's a really good exercise to play standards and keep the form and expand and improvise around a melody. So that being said, I'm going to pick a really nice tune I like. It's from 1944. It's an old tune. It's from the Paramount Picture days. I think Jimmy Van Heusen wrote this, which I don't know Jimmy, but I got to give it to him because he wrote a good song. Anyway, this is called "It Could Happen to You," and it could happen to you. Who knows what's going to happen? But that's half the battle. To you. Yeah, something's going to happen. Say a prayer, everybody. That's live, baby. So it could happen to you, and a lot of things happen. I ran out of steam. But basically, the reason I do these exercises and try to keep myself sane is, again, for a timing thing. So for instance, some people might have thought that was good. Other people might have thought it was really, really sad. I'm going to go with really, really sad. I actually really hate my playing. So just as an example of how I would work on this is half the melody. Okay, so the melody is, to break it down simple wise, the melodies. That's part of the melody. It's an A section, part of the A section. So I play the full melody, A section. The next chorus that comes around, I tried to blow around it, okay? And I felt like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I felt like I started rushing it. The time started getting, so, and once the time starts rushing, it doesn't feel as good. And so, so I'm going to be my own teacher on this, so. So that's just the melody. I'm playing with no groove. I'm just trying to show you the melody. Here's the second part of the melody. This is the tag of the melody. Okay, so now I'm into the solo. The first half of the solo felt pretty good. I'm just kind of blowing around. Second part of the melody, blowing on the second part of the melody. Now to the tag of the melody. Okay, so that was kind of just showing it a form and really trying to define a form key center wise, having a key center and trying to define the chord changes of that tune. Again, now I'm getting a little more technical. Again, I'm thinking more conceptual, but so now, again, I always do this in clinics. I gotta say, relax, Carl. Now make it feel good. And again, I'm rushing, so. When I'm rushing is when I'm playing my eighth notes, which are, I'm playing like just really on top of the beat, which generally could be good, generally could be bad, but I'm not digging it right now, so I'm going to pull it back. Still kind of the same tempo. I'm just going to change the phrasing to where I'm not playing those eighth notes on top of the beat. So starting on second chorus of blowing. So the tempo is boom. 1, 2. Bit better. I'm still kind of hot dogging it and rushing a little bit, but starting to feel a little bit better. So hopefully that's an example of how I would approach playing tunes and standards. and catching myself and like, okay, well, some things were good and some things were sad. And then also a really, really good thing is, tomorrow I'll probably check this out and listen to it and say, oh man, okay, I got to define this chord change better, or I got to work on this, I got to work on that. So recording yourself is a great thing. So anyway, that's kind of how I approach playing by yourself and being magical and mystical. So,
one thing that you mentioned that I've heard you bring up in clinics quite a bit is the fact that it's okay to sound sad. And I think that's really important. You're in your practice room right now.
Sad is bad. You want to sound bad. You don't want to sound bad, but you're working on something that's not your comfort zone.
Right.
And I'm exposing you to that. It can't be more live than this. Nothing's preconceived. I didn't say I'm going to work these changes out to where me, it's like maybe I looked at the ending. I'm like, oh, am I making sure I'm playing this tag right or am I melody right? But, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I think it's important to reiterate because I know we have a lot of students that do come onto the stream. So if you're playing something that you already are sounding good on over and over again, that's,
move on.
Yeah, move on. Play something that you're going to screw up. Because
sure,
you're working on it. So I think it's just
working on it.
Yeah. Sound sad in the practice room. That's where it's supposed to be.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Yeah, sounds sad, and this you can't get. It's an old tune, 1944, and I've been playing it. This is one of my. I love this tune. I love playing on this tune. It's a nice tune. Mm-hmm. I like the melody. So I always take old tunes I like, melodies of and standards. The jazz repertoire of standards is kind of a man. It's a. And then you go into the pop thing too. You have pop standards. I look at, you're going to laugh at me, but I look at my boss, Billy Joel. He's like the Gershwin. I've said this many times. He's like the George Gershwin of our time. He's written so many great melodies and told so many stories. You take some of those melodies and you play around them. Sting. A whole bunch of whatever melody you dig that you think you can expand on, being a beginning improviser, go for it, and just start dealing with the fundamentals of the harmonic, the time, and the melody. So hopefully that, and please feel free, throw just questions out there. Actually, since we're on here right now, do we have any questions? Is there anybody even on here? There might be 4 or 5 people. Forget about it. It could be 2 people. I don't know. Is there any questions about so far me slopping through this thing?
No, there's quite a few people hanging out, and Dan Miller is hanging out still. So. Oh,
cool. Yeah. Dan, we got to get Dan on here, man. I want to play with Dan. I feel bad. Dan lives about 2.5 hours south of me in Florida here, and he's tearing it up nightly, man. He's got residency in a lot of clubs and restaurants with. He plays with Lou from the old Saturday Night Live tenor player, Lou Delgado. He plays with Lou Delgado. They have a great quintet, and he's always playing great music, man. He's the guy that gets out there. I'm a hermit. Well, when I come off the road, I hibernate. But I want to hang with you, Dan, and play with you. And again, it means a lot to me that you're here. We're gonna hook up soon, I hope.
Yeah, we did have a couple questions that came out of that.
Okay.
Of what you were talking about. You mentioned pop standards.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite pop standard that you like to play over?
I don't have a favorite. I mean, my favorite's like the flavor of the week. It's whatever I'm looking at the present time. That's that's on my forefront of my head. So whatever that is, it's my favorite at the time. But I do love. Starting to sound like a Billy Joel commercial, but I got to be true to who I am. I recorded Adverse Times with my organic groove band. The record was called Adverse Times. We recorded Billy's tune, Down Easter Alexa. Mm-hmm. And that has a soft spot for me because I'm a Long Island fisherman. I have a lot of friends of mine that are baymen. So the tune always, struck a chord with me, and I always loved the melody. I always loved the groove. So we did a rendition of it on Adverse Times. So that was a really nice thing for me to kind of work on. And I call him my left-hand man. Steven's my right-hand man. My left-hand man is Ronald Swansky. I call him the octopus. He's the driver of Organic Groove, my band Organic Groove. He plays a Hammond B3. He plays left-hand bass. That's why I call him my left-hand man. He plays left-hand bass. There's no bass player in that band. It's all Hammond organ. And then obviously he comps with his right hand. So I call him the octopus. And he's got his feet going. He plays foot pedals, and he's an octopus. He's octagonical. He don't look like an octopus. He looks more like a squid. Sorry, Ziggy.
The guy's not even here to defend himself.
I'm in trouble. He's not going to answer my phone call. But Ron was very, he's like, I know you like this tune. And he showed up one day. We had a club gig in Manhattan, and he shows up one day with an arrangement. He goes, check this out. And we played it at sound check, and we changed a couple things. And I'm definitely out of that Maynard Ferguson school, whether it be a pop standard or an old standard or whatever arrangement you're doing, or you're playing. The best place to play it is in front of people and see what their response is, and then act accordingly. So when we go into a recording with Maynard Ferguson's band, very rarely were those arrangements read in the studio new. They were not fresh. They were road proven. And that's kind of what I did with Organic Groove. Ron, I had a lot. Tom Guarna, who was my original guitar player in that band, great guitarist, bringing tunes, and we play them and see what would work and change things, and so kind of evolution, and so. Yep. Tried to have evolution of the arrangement. So yeah, I would say Down Easter Alexa, right? As far as a pop standard for me in the Billy Joel book. Also, we talked about this last week. Another tune I'd like to do of Billy's is "And So It Goes." I love Sting stuff. Englishman in New York is one I love. Yeah. I'd love to do. Mike Del Giudice does it. He does a great cover of it. I'd like to do a jazz cover of Christopher Cross tune, "Sailing." Not make it sound like smooth jazz. Smooth jazz is it's smoothed out already. It's already smoothed out. Me and smooth jazz really don't get along. I call it rough jazz. I play rough jazz. I'm more intense. Not that there's nothing wrong with smooth jazz, but I'm a little bit more aggressive for smooth jazz. My attitude or lack thereof. I'm getting myself in trouble tonight, man.
You're all right.
All right, thanks.
We'll just have all the smooth jazz people coming over into the stream for next week. So it's
and again, it's cool. Hey, it's all good. Good. I've said it many times, and I believe it. Take it for what it's worth. Two types of music, good and bad. What separates the two is substance and meaning, and the three ingredients of music. Harmony, melody, and time. Yep. They all have to be. Those things all have to be in alignment to be telling a good story. Yeah. So if it moves you, it's good.
Now, speaking of,
I wouldn't say everything moves you, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Speaking of good music, I'm telling you, out of everything that I get email wise, I get references to this particular solo constantly, all the time. All the time. You guys when you were on the road with Maynard Ferguson, you guys did a festival in, I believe it was in Germany.
Oh, you asked me about the German thing. Yeah. Okay.
It was back in 1996, but I get asked about this
96
constantly. I don't. I actually have a clip of the solo. And I'd love to play it for people and
throw it out there
and get your thoughts on just some time that you spent with Maine and maybe that particular show. The clip is actually you playing over Sweet Baba Sweet.
One of Maynard's Sweet Baba Sweet. Okay, so yeah, let me break down Sweet Baba Sweet before we play it.
Yeah.
When Maynard 12 years on and off with Maynard Ferguson's band. I want to say maybe 3 times he'd always have a tune in there that had a Indian, Western, Eastern, like just a Indian raga tune, you know, Indian Indian raga is an Indian scale or mode, you know. I think I touched on that last time too, you know.
Yeah.
Whoa, Double C didn't want to come out, sitting in a chair, but
Yeah.
it's like a harmonic minor, very dark, mysterious. The nice keyword is mysterious. And when you hear mysterious, have a drink of water,
There you go.
or whatever's in front of you. But yeah, so Sweet Baba Sweet was one of those Indian themed songs, and it meant a lot to me playing on this tune. Like I said, we played 3 Indian tunes in my time with the band, and I felt really honored to play on that particular tune because Maynard, around Christmas time, he'd go to an ashram in Puttaparthi, India. Ashram, he had an apartment in ashram and was a devotee of Sai Baba and studied that whole and Dan could attest to this because Dan Miller, if he's still here, I'd love to talk to Dan about that. That would be a great story. Dan actually went over with Maynard's band and played at the ashram for Sai Baba. So anyway, I'm going on this whole when I've been playing it. But so yeah, this is what is it, Sweet Baba Sweet, which is I think the second Indian tune I played was Maynard at that time, '96. This was a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'd like to check it out. See what we got.
Let's play it for people so they know what we're talking about here.
Okay. Sweet Baba. I go for some chicken tikka masala with some saag paneer, some raita, some samosa.
Yeah, right.
Oh man, Maynard turned me on to Indian food too. If you were on Maynard Ferguson's band, bro, and anywhere near Chicago, your hometown, well, not your hometown, where you live now. If you were in Chicago, man, we were 200 miles from we toured on a tour bus with Maynard. If we were 200 miles anywhere near Chicago, Maynard would take a route into Chicago to eat at Gaylord's Indian Buffet. And he turned on more on Maynard's side, man. He turned more guys on that band into Indian food. The saag paneer with spinach. And, man, people, you know, I'm Long Island and Brooklyn all the way. I'm like pasta and, you know, bread and, I'm down home Italian food and, you know, I'm like Indian food, man. He turned me on to this stuff, and man, I still I have my Indian restaurants across the country. I know where they are, and I go. I even have one here in St. Pete I love. So anyway,
I say every time we're on the road, that's the first thing you yelp.
Yelp Indian, or you know, or some good Italian or whatever. Yeah. So that was. So you said that you getting a lot of comments on that tune. People like that.
Yeah,
that
people
thing,
like I get comments. We put that clip out. I think I put that up on YouTube back in like 2014, and I still get comments like within the last couple days.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, people always talk about, you know, how you were talking earlier with It Could Happen to You, about how you build the solo and how you structure it and how you work towards that goal. One of the things that people talk about with that particular solo a lot is how you built it, you know.
Oh, wow.
And just the overall arc of the solo. But yeah, it's like people are constantly commenting on that solo about how it's one of the best they've ever heard.
You gotta stop. You gotta stop.
Yeah,
you gotta stop. These people must be deaf. Come on. I mean, they can't.
I didn't say they heard it. They watched it. You know?
I'm such a moron. Well, that's really, really nice. Especially about the arc thing and trying to build something. Maynard would give you enough rope to hang yourself, which I loved, you know. And playing on Maynard Ferguson's band, being a trumpet player, you're never going to out Maynard, you know. Many people have tried, and many of people have fallen victim to, you know, hey kid, play like yourself. And that was one of the great lessons I learned right off the bat with Maynard and Winton. You know, play like yourself, you know, figure out what yourself is, you know. That's a whole nother talk, trying to figure out where where you're coming at as a human being is, you know, how you're going to reflect, how it's going to reflect in your playing, you know. So my whole deal was, you know, no one had the Maynard chops, and everybody has different vocabulary in their improvisation and their, you know, the way they form a line. And at that time, what do you say, it was in the mid 90s, 96 or something,
1996.
Right? I was listening to a lot I was hanging a lot with John Faddis at the time. And, you know, which is John was a big devotee, he'll tell you himself. He was very big devotee of Dizzy Gillespie, you know. And so a lot of the tonguing things in the upper register, you know, I was studying and, you know, just trying to attack different things from a different articulation standpoint, and obviously trying to build counterpoint and try to build something. So I remember that particular, now that I see it, I remember that gig, and I remember that whole tour. It's kind of ironic how Billy Joel and Maynard Ferguson are, it's like a small, the world gets smaller and smaller the older I get. So, you know, I look at that video, the bass player in that video was Phil Palumbi, who was my roommate in Brooklyn. Phil moved from outside of Cleveland, somewhere in Ohio, near Cleveland, Youngstown. He went to Youngstown State. He lived around there somewhere. He moved from Ohio into Brooklyn with me at that time. My friend owned that building in Brooklyn. And I ended up becoming the super of that building, and then I left. Phil was the superintendent of that building, and we turned into like a music building for a while. A lot of guys from the University of North Texas would come from Texas and come to New York. We had 6 apartments there. But I'm getting off. So that was Phil Palumbi. He was my roommate. I wasn't my roommate on Maynard's band. He was my roommate in Brooklyn, and then we had a drummer that did a tour or two. I can't remember. I think he did 1 or 2 tours. He was a great Latin jazz drummer and nice kid, and he still does a lot of education. Phil Monterano. So that's Phil Monterano, 2 Phils. And then what's really the six degrees of separation. I mean, I could go on and on about the personnel of that band and bands in general, but I'm going to go on. Why not, right? We're all hanging out. This is why we're here, just to kind of hang.
Where are you going to go?
Yeah, I mean, why not? So that piano player was funny. His name is Spike Wilner. That's his nickname, Spike Wilner. And Spike, I remember when I moved back to New York. I grew up in New York, went to Florida for 4 years, high school, went back to New York. When I went back to New York, I was doing a lot of little recording sessions for Manhattan School of Music for a lot of their arranging classes. We'd go in, and Spike was always in a lot of bands, a lot of these recording. Andy Farber was a tenor player. He did a lot of these with Dave Berger. David Berger was a great educator. He was a teacher and great Duke Ellington. He used to transcribe all the original Jazz at Lincoln Center, Duke Ellington transcriptions. A lot were done by David Berger. And so Spike was in that scene, man, and he was a great bebop piano player. And I think I got in Maynard's band in the winter of '93 or the winter of '94. I think it was the winter of '94, '93 or '94. I don't have it in front of me, but so a couple years later, Spike came and did this tour, and it was a European tour. And I remember, man, he came over to Europe with us, and he lasted, I think, 1 or 2 tours. Some guys like to tour, some people, like to stay home. But the reason I'm bringing up Spike is, Spike, really he's a Manhattanite, man, and Spike started his own thing and always was an in-demand piano player and started hanging out at Smalls Jazz Club, and now is the sole proprietor of Smalls Jazz Club. He's kept Smalls alive. It's a tiny little jazz club, hence the name Smalls, in a village around the corner from the Village Vanguard. And he's been the sole proprietor of that place, keeping that place alive. And ironically, so he was comping and playing great piano on that. And I love his comping. He was very great. He could really, suggest really nice. He's just a great musician. And, I guess what? Well, a month and a half ago, my boss, Billy Joel, I get an email saying that Billy donated $25,000 to the Smalls Jazz Outreach Musician Fund to keep jazz musicians, to have a kitty, an emergency fund. And I was just like, man, Billy is just he's a different guy, man. He's the best of his best. He's special. But it just blew my mind with this whole Spike thing on this video playing with Maynard. And then last month, Billy throwing $25,000 to that musician fund, jazz musician fund of Smalls. I don't know exactly what it is. I know it delves into a whole bunch of different, maybe you can explain more, but I know it helps out musicians in need and the club, and it's a beautiful thing, man. Billy wrote a beautiful letter, and it was just a wonderful thing. And so that was the rhythm section. Can you expand on the Billy thing, because maybe I'm not giving it justice. I want to give him justice because that was a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, from what I know, it was to kind of support the artist community that comes through that particular club.
Okay.
And I know that they have a lot of regular groups and artists that come through there.
Sure.
So I think the fund. I don't know all the specifics, but I know it was just given to support jazz. The jazz community and keeping live music alive in that environment. But it's pretty crazy that the piano player with Maynard that you played with back in the 90s is now running the club that the guy that you're in the band with now.
Yeah. I started, it's funny. If I'm correct, I started playing with him in 91, Spike, when I first moved back to New York in the winter of 91. Yeah, man, shows of our age, right? 6 degrees of separation. And then I'll even go on, because I'm a Maynard head, that trumpet section, Scott Engelbright, who is originally from Bakersfield, California. And actually, it's kind of funny if Scott's on here. Scott was the lead player. He was in the middle. Scott Engelbright, great guy. I remember when he got off the band, or when we were on the band, I had a apartment in Long Island, and it was a studio apartment. I was a studio next to mine open, and Scott wanted to move to New York, and he lived in the studio for about I think he made 2 or 3 months and didn't dig it and moved back to California, up to San Francisco area, and did very well there for himself. And now he's back living in New York now, so that's kind of cool, and he's doing well, and we love Scott. So Scott was a great lead player on that band, and this was a really great trumpet section. I got the fortune to play with a lot of great trumpet sections in Maynard's band. This was one of the great ones. I wouldn't say one's better than the other. Another one we recorded with was Frank Green and Wayne Bergeron and myself. That was a fun section. There's been a lot of great sections, but this section had a vibe because all of us, I think this was, and you can attest to this was the original Jenny Craig trio. Scott, myself, and Jay Roberts was playing second trumpet, and he was another Denton, Texas, University of North Texas graduate. And his sound to this day is still ingrained in my head. He had the biggest trumpet sound and the purest trumpet sound that I've heard in a long time, man. I don't think he's playing much anymore. I know it was a great section. And Maynard used to joke with us because we were all large, and so we were all Jenny Craig. Just as the Jenny Craig trio. That was one of the sections. But that was a fun section.
Yeah, it's your guys' fault.
What's that? Go ahead.
I said it's your guys' fault that Maynard told me I was too skinny to play trumpet.
That's right. You were hanging out with the band, and you were way too small, bro.
No, but Jay, he always seemed like a very relaxed player too.
Who's this, Jay?
Yeah, to produce that big a sound, he always seemed very he didn't look like a physical player, like you see sometimes.
Yeah, not like me where I'm straining and squash and trying to squeeze out every little ounce of something. He was and what was really beautiful about Jay was he was very into Tom Harrell, who was, in my opinion, is a very underrated the most lyrical jazz trumpet player of our time right now is still, in my eyes, Tom Harrell. Just lyrical, beautiful lines, great writer. And man, Jay, for his biggest sound, and he'd play some lead things for Scott, and for as big a sound as he had, he could turn around and play some Tom Harrell solos and just melt you. Mm-hmm. So he was a very, he was a chameleon, and that's one of the things I like trying to do when I play jazz in Maynard's band, even that solo, tell a story, play the range of the horn. Not everything has to be higher, faster, louder. Of course, it would be nice to end up there to have an arc of a solo. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of, it was kind of like what Maynard would do. He'd throw you in the deep end of the pool and you'd have to swim. Give you enough rope to hang yourself, which incidentally, Billy does the same thing. Give you enough rope to hang yourself. Occasionally you might hang yourself, and then you kind of learn what works and what doesn't, and you try to be consistent, and you learn as you go. But for lack of a better, Maynard was a school. Billy was a school, totally opposite. Billy was a school in a different way, of approaching songs, so you learn as much as you can from people. And then, not to leave the rest of the guys out, the great Tom Garling from Chicago playing trombone, arranging, and he was the music director of that band. And I'm sorry, I'm just having a blank. Who was the tenor player and alto player? Was it Matt Wallace? Matt was on it,
Matt, right? And Sal,
it was Matt,
right? Was it Matt and Sal?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I know it was Matt. I think
was it Sal?
I think Sal.
It might have been. It was Sally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was my boy Sal, and Sal and I used to play in a million Club Date bands in New York. I'm pretty sure I'm losing my train of thought because I'm going on, and those years kind of blend together. But I know Matt Wallace was an alto and tenor player on that band, and we were a family. That was a fun band. That was a really fun band. So,
I got a couple questions while we're on this. Is
cool.
One of them is, did Did Maynard ever let you know how he felt about a solo while you were on stage?
Never.
Like, could you get a vibe from him, like how he felt?
No. If you messed up something, you know, I remember going for something a few times and hacking it. And I had a thing, you know, it's funny. It's kind of bring back a couple different memories. Maynard was always the consummate showman. He would never show, you try not to show emotion on stage other than happiness. Very rarely do, you know, and that's the truth. And he'd tell you himself, he was like a vaudeville. He came, you know, vaudeville entertainment back in the, you know, back in the day, man. That was, you know, he always had a show. It was, you know, when he was with Paramount, when he was with Stan Kenton, you know, it's Paramount. He was a Paramount trumpet player, contracted trumpet player, and played on a whole bunch of film scores. So his attitude, you know, your attitude can't come out when you're playing a film score, but it was always about the gig, how you approach the gig. And you know, I remember, my heart's always on my sleeve. Still to this day, I've tried to get better about it. I try not to show too much emotion on a bandstand other than happiness. But for a while, man, especially when I first joined the band, I remember I always, like I even said earlier, I hate sometimes things I play. I very rarely like what I play. And that could be a really positive thing, and also could be a very self-deprecating, horrible thing too. Because, you know, you get yourself in a hole so much, you know, why come out of it? You know, you kind of wallow in your own pity, and that's not good. People don't want to be around that. So I remember playing something on solo mic and cursing, like going off, oh man, that's, you know, and like putting my horn down, you know, and coming from, and maybe putting my head down, and him kind of slapping me on my back. You'll get it next time, man. Come on, stop, you know, and you know, not negative, positive, like, come on, you know, and I do it, and then he start laughing at me. You know, I a couple times I done it, and he was like, he just start laughing at me. Man, you're taking yourself don't take yourself so seriously. That was another thing he would say. Don't take yourself so seriously. And then, you know, the king of that band, and I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway, was Ed Sargent. He was our road manager. He was the guy that, you know, took all his derelicts on the road, and had to, you know, basically babysit all of us. And I remember Ed taking me aside and say, hey man, this, you know, people are here for positivity. You know, you might not want to sulk every time you feel like you're sounding sad. He goes, I know why you're doing it, you know, because you want to be, you want to do the best you can. And so I remember those instances where, you know, whiffing, giving that rope. He gave me the rope, and I whiffed the ball a few times, well, not a few, many times, and don't show it. You know, and 90% of the time, and this happens in grade school kids, you go, you know, what's funny is, Winton says this, and I love this for Winton Marsalis. You go to an elementary school concert and you watch these elementary school kids play, and the vibe is they're having fun. You know, they're going out and having fun. There's no preconceived, like, you know, this is the way it should be, and it's, you know, if I chip a note, none of that. They're there for the pure joy of it. And, you know, people are spending good money to hear a band. They don't want to see some guy drooping his head down. And so be positive, and, you know, and so no, that was the only emotion I'd get. I've seen Maynard in 12 years. I've seen him mad 3 times. I never want to see him mad again, because it was scary. Meaning that he's never mad, and when it was mad, you're like, oh man, okay. You knew, and I could tell you those 3 times were pretty intense. You know, it was like, oh, the Fox was there, man. Nothing gets her. His nickname was the Fox. His real nickname was the Fox. And man, he knew everything and anything that went on. He was sly as a fox, baby.
Very
so hopefully that answered that.
Yeah, no, it definitely did. And actually, I'm going to make a correction here, because I did get it wrong. It was actually Chris Farr playing in that video.
Oh man, now I'm really feeling horrible.
Yeah.
Chris. Yeah, and you know what? I seen him, but I had a brain freeze. Chris is you know, I'm going to relate I'm going to relay a Chris story. Chris Farr played tenor and soprano sax, and I studied with a gentleman who actually produced. You know this guy. He helped produce this last record. We went in the studio. The record's not done, called Ted-Eye, Tribute to Evolutionary Trumpet Icons. And Kamal Kenyatta came and produced this. He's a Grammy-winning producer. He's producing all of Gregory Porter, the great jazz singer, Gregory Porter. Kamal's a great piano player and a great soprano saxophonist. So I remember us going out to L.A. and San Diego. Kamal came to L.A. and he lives in San Diego. He came to 2 shows and he heard Chris Farr play. And Chris was just out of University of Arts in Philadelphia. He just got out of school, and man, he played. I think it was on Sweet Baba Sweet too, the beginning thing on soprano. And Kamal's exact words were, "Clark Kent came to the plate." I was thinking I'd hear this Clark Kent thing, and I heard the biggest soulful Wayne Shorter-esque original soprano thing I've heard. He messed me up so bad. Kamal still talks about Clark Kent. How's Clark Kent? So Chris is actually a professor at University of Arts in Philly, and he plays with Jill Scott occasionally. He was in Jill's band for a number of years. He plays with a great trumpet player. Oh man, I'm having a brain freeze. If Dan's on here, he'll tell me about it. Chime in, Dan, or that great, not Kenny. Oh man, he plays Iwi. He's a beautiful player and trumpet, and plays Val Bone too. I love his playing. He plays in a quintet with him. But anyway, so Chris came on the band too. I remember he came on the band last minute. Someone got sick, or someone left the band, or got fired. I don't remember the particulars. If I think about it long enough, it will come. But Chris came. He didn't have a rehearsal or anything. He came and sight read that book, and he sight read it perfectly. I remember before. Wow, I remember that's because, oh man, this is crazy. Another Maynardism, man. I remember talking to Chris before we went on, and I was sweating it for him because that's not an easy book to sight read, on a gig. What I mean by sight reading, if you don't know, you never played the music, you got the chart in front of you, go, and here it is, play it, and with jazz also, there's a lot of improvisation. So not only are you doing the right brain thing of regurgitating the notes and trying to get it stylistically right and blend into your section, then the left brain comes in, you have your solos. So I remember the Maynardism talking to Chris before the gig and saying, dude, you've been in school for 4 years. We know you can sight read this. If you make a mistake, laugh and be happy. He never made a mistake. He read that book better than anybody ever heard read that book.
Really?
Yeah, he crushed that book, man. I love Chris. Chris is married and has a beautiful baby now, and yeah, so Maynardism. Actually, I could talk about Maynard things on, but yeah, I mean, so Maynard exuded that attitude with everybody. So here is me prior in '96 or '94. Holding my head down when I clammed a note or didn't like my solo. And here's a guy coming in a pressure cooker reading the book, and me telling him, don't worry, just laugh about it. If you mess up, just keep on going. And so there it is.
Yep.
I just surprised myself.
I want to come back to that, but Bob Cook just chimed in and asked, is it John Swana that you're thinking of?
John Swana. Thank you, Cook. John Swana, beautiful. Yeah, John Swana is like a mix of Kenny Wheeler, because I was thinking of Kenny Wheeler. I love Kenny Wheeler's playing, and Tom Harold, and then he's got this bebop thing, and he plays Iwi. Yeah, man, Swan is great. He's got a whole bunch of crisscross records out in the 90s. He's a wonderful guy, too, but he's a great bebop trumpet player.
Yeah. Before we get too far away, I want to come back. You were just talking about Chris, and you mentioned sight reading. I actually had a question in here from James asking if do you have any advice or suggestions on someone wanting to improve their sight reading, and also is it true at a professional level that that not being a good sight reader could actually be detrimental to your career?
If you can't read, you're shooting yourself in the foot if you're not a good sight reader. I was never a great sight reader. I worked on being a good sight reader. And in my heyday, when I was doing a lot of sessions and subbing around New York, I became a very, very good sight reader. But it was something that I had to work on. And here it is. Imagine it stays on my stand. Here's how you sight read. This is the Arbin's book. This is your Bible. Every day, I've played this book probably 2-3 times. Not good, sounding sad, trying to improve on things. But every day I come to the stand, I'll open a page and I'll play. Okay, so I'm going to play excerpt 20. That just looks like a flexibility thing. It is, but and then you have characteristic studies, and it doesn't just have to be Arbin's. Arbin's is nice because as for a trumpet player, it deals with a lot of different articulations, and it's kind of like the brass Bible. But then you can even be more modern and just pick up any book. I love playing tenor players' books. Bob Berg had a book out, Music -1, with some really hard heads. Read as much as you can, and turn and get a metronome. And if it's a swing tune, have the pulse on 2 and 4. Have it, if it's a 4/4 tune, have it pulse on 2 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Have a nice vibe with that to where it feels good, and try to read it where it's feeling good, not where it's robotic. And also, when you're reading that, whether it be a jazz tune or even just a military march, whatever it is, if you get hung up on something, read through it, play the whole phrase, because on a gig, you're not going to have time to stop. You stop, you're ready, So those are the things I would, and John Faddis was very influential too. I had a thing I would never play lead, even though guys would call me for it. Oh, you got the chops. But I never had, at that time I was fighting myself with, my reading's not that good. So John turned me on to the Arbin thing and really helped my reading out. And getting past your own head. It's like, once you get the stylistically, the phrasing of it. And also the big thing with sight reading is reading in front of the phrase. So, reading two measures in front of what you're playing, reading forward. So let's say you're looking at this particular bar, and between the field goal here, you're looking at 2 in front of you. You're looking for, like I was saying in improvisation, you're looking for vocabulary. You're looking for where that phrase is going, where it's going to end. So, just kind of sussing it out before you get there. And once you start doing these things, it becomes repetition, muscle memory. Those are 2 words that you really want to get. That's why you just can't become a great musician overnight. There's a lot of time put into these things. So hopefully that answered that.
No, that's good. I actually want to say hello to some people, and then I actually have a surprise for you. I've been working on something.
Oh boy.
Yeah. But really quick, let me go through the chat and say hello to some people here.
Cool.
The regular crowd has shuffled in, so to speak. We've got
awesome.
We've got Melissa is here, George and Brenda in Missouri saying hello. John Gallegos says hello. Randy Merrill.
All right.
What's
happening,
BMR
guys?
Golf page. Anthony Orzo.
Right.
Noah Svokos. George Weiss.
Nice.
Actually was at the show in New Jersey that you were talking about earlier, the TED-Eye show.
Oh, he came to the TED-Eye show? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Hey, ask him. Hey, George, how'd you like the show? Man, that was our 3rd gig out. Mm-hmm. And actually, that was our last gig that we played with TED-Eye. We had some spring and summer things lined up, and obviously that's not happening. I feel like, the record's done. Well, we've recorded the record. We still have to mix it. We got to add a couple solos for special guests. But I'd be curious, chime in if you can, what you thought about Teddy, because that was a brainchild that Steven and I have, we've been working on for a couple of years now in our heads.
Yeah.
And, we probably worked on it 6 months to 8 months prior to that with rehearsing here in Florida. And it's a fun band. I can't wait to do that gig again, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It'll be, I think it's something different for people too, because there are different components that they're not used to seeing,
Yeah. There's a visual component.
Right.
Yep. Steven walks out, he doesn't have a shirt on. I walk out and I only have my underwear on. It's something you only want to see once.
That's definitely a visual component there.
I want my money back.
The BMR golf page says, I love the Ted-I show in New Jersey also.
Oh, cool.
Couple
All right.
people that were
Thank
here
you.
at the Jersey show.
Did I have my pants on then?
I don't know. Was there a visual component?
Yeah. Well, the visual component is, the whole concept of that is tribute to evolutionary trumpet icons, TETI. And the whole concept was, to give a tribute, but also to kind of play it our own way. So fresher arrangements, but also have the visual aspect of those innovators that were attributing Louis Armstrong, Dizzy Gillespie, Miles Davis, Freddie Hubbard, Maynard Ferguson, on and on and on. Having them, whether it be little catalysts of them talking or playing, embedded in the arrangements that we're playing. So it took a while, but I felt pretty, man, Steven, you did a good job putting that together. We spent how many hours? I know you spent hours without even me. I'd hand you these, okay, I want this clip here, and man, you spent hours editing that stuff, bro.
Yeah, it's a cool project because I got to learn, a few new things, just like what we're doing now. I got to learn. I mean, the software that we're using to put on the visual aspect of the show is actually the same software that people use in major stadium concerts.
Sure.
So if you go see Billy, all the screens are being run by a similar software. So it's pretty cool to bring that into a different, world, so to speak.
Well, I mean, absolutely, and I got to give credit where credit's due. You had the gumption and fortitude to let me say, dude, come out to a Billy show, and we were lucky enough to sit down with Joe Weir, who's the video captain of the Billy Joel show. He sits on my side of the stage and calls he has video called out from beautiful production manager, lighting director, and Steve Cohen calls the video shots, and Joe Weir has all these video shots, and he makes that show happen live. So we were fortunate to sit down with Joe Weir at a stadium concert and pick Joe's brains, and he helped us out tremendously. And same thing with my man Mark Fafano, lighting. He works under Steve Cohen in lighting, and also he helped. He knows the whole. These guys are just unsung heroes of the production end of it. Of course, then you can't talk anything without production. You got Steve Cohen that's been there for eons, and then you cannot talk about Steve Cohen and these other guys without talking about Brian Ruggles. Brian Ruggles is our front of house engineer. He's been with Billy since 1902. He's been close to, if he's been there 40, it's got to be around 40 or maybe even longer, doing front of house and production of the sound. So I always thought in a smaller realm with music of jazz, having a production value where it's not just another guy taking a trumpet solo, not just another bass solo, jazz combo where you're sitting through, okay, now the drum's going to play, and it's, hit them by surprise. And so that was the production values, and you ate that up, Steven, and you spent a lot of time with these guys. So
and it's actually going to be fun to share some of that stuff when we can, because it's interesting to bring some of it back to life, for lack of a better term, and when people see what we're talking about, they'll get it, So,
yeah, hopefully we can get it out.
It's like watching a movie. But,
Yeah.
but no, that was good. It was definitely glad some people are chiming in about Ted-Eye and the show. So thank you.
That's
guys
great.
for that.
So I guess we're not wasting our time then. So I guess we should finish the record. Part of the reason why we haven't finished it, now we have time. Part of the reason we haven't finished it is we're still dealing with clearance.
Yeah.
You have clearance, trying to get the clearance and pay. This is not cheap, man. To pay for the clearance for using these images.
Yep.
Which is a whole nother thing, man. It's like, oof. I'm
definitely a labor of love.
Yeah. So we're trying. We'll get it out one day.
Mike MacArthur chimed in from the studio and says, "We're ready to finish it. Let's go."
Yeah, Mike was a great tenor player and businessman. He owns the studio, All Access Studio here in Clearwater, Florida. And we did all the tracking there. Everything live in the studio. And like I said, we're gonna have some guests on it, some solos. We just got to figure out when and where. Traveling right now, it's kind of hard, so the where is kind of up in the air. But yeah, we'll get it done, man. Mike's been great because he believes in the project, and actually, not only does he believe in a project, he opened up his studio and his home basically to us to do whatever we want when we want. And you can't talk about Mike MacArthur without Doug Johnston and Ronnie D, the other two co-owners of All Access Studios. Doug is the engineer, and Ronnie D is the wind beneath our wings. He makes everybody kind of feel good, and he's a great tenor player and singer. And it's just a great vibe there. And they opened up their studio not just to us recording, but to bringing people in to see us play and record at the studio. That was a great night too, man. We were, in the infancy stages of that. They were having open houses, and we'd have concerts in the studio. It was great. So yeah, we can't wait for that to come back, and we appreciate Mike and that whole gang over there, All Access.
Yeah, it'll definitely be fun to share some of that stuff.
Yeah, man.
Back to the chat real quick before my stream surprise. Oh, we actually have the Ted-Eye drummer Luis is on as well. Saying hello.
Man. Alicea. Luis.
Yep.
Alicea.
Yep.
What's up, Luis? Luis is a bad man. He plays drums, not only on Ted-Eye, but he's on a million different projects. Al Dimiol's drummer and a great guitar player. He's a funky dude. He plays all the styles great. Plays Latin percussion. And it's just, he's a guy that you want to hang out with. You want him on your band. You want him, part of my upbringing of being around bands, starting from playing bar bands, wedding bands, Maynard Ferguson, Wynton Marsalis, Blood, Sweat, and Tears. All these bands had one thing in common, the bands that I liked. And it was a leader that put people in a situation where they let them do that, let them be themselves. Here's the rope, hang yourself. And you want those guys not only musically, but also you want to be around a guy that has your back and that socially, and that you want around. And Lewis is that guy. No matter what he goes into, he's both feet are there, man. He doesn't phone anything in. So he was one of the first guys I knew I wanted to play with when I first came down here. He was playing with Luis, tell me the name of this band. Goombi Ortiz, great Latin percussionist. He's like the grandfather. He's gonna kick my ass now, Goombi. Sorry. He's like he molded so many musicians here in Tampa Bay. Goombi. So many guys were under his tutelage, and he's unbelievable. He's with Al Dimiola for over 30 years. But what was that band? There was a couple different names. New Groove City. But before that, it was another name. But I met Louise playing with New Groove City at a club with Goombi, and I just remembered him, man. And when this whole Ted-Eye thing was coming about, there was a couple drummers I was thinking about, and I'm glad that we got Louise. And basically, I was putting together rhythm sessions just to play. I didn't really know I knew I was gonna do something, but I wanted the right guys. And so again, whether it be a wedding band or a small band or a Billy Joel, whatever, man, the ingredients have to be it. The gumbo has got to be there. And Luis has the gumbo happening, bro.
Man,
So.
he's saying it was called the Latino Project.
A Latino project. Yeah, I played on that first record, man. Yeah, Latino. I forgot all about that. That whole band is great, and there's a great, Kenny Walker is in that band, and Luis has been there for a long time too. And
well, nothing says loyalty like your daughter being born the same day as the Ted Eye show that you were talking about.
you tell that story. I mean, I still can't comprehend that one.
Yeah,
My man.
Yeah, basically Luis's newest child was born the same day that we had the concert at All Access Studios as the basically the debut of the group.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
Can't complain about that one, right? But
yeah, I remember. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And he goes, bro, I make a gig. I tell you, I'm going to make a gig. I make a gig. He goes, he's going to have that baby's going to happen. It ain't going to happen on a gig. And sure as hell, she came. Yeah. God bless. And actually, dude, I got to tell you, I just seen you posted a video with her on the bike. If anybody wants to laugh and see something good right now and some goodness, go check out Luis Alicea. Alecia, correct? Luis
Alicea. Yeah.
See, I'm illiterate. I'm sorry. Check him out on my page. He's a friend of mine, Luis Antonio Alicea.
You can see his name in the chat.
And then he's got this. He posted it today, I think, on Facebook. I hope. Correct me if I'm wrong. But she's on a bike, smile. Oh man, it was beautiful. All right, enough. I'm going off here. I'm sorry.
Mike says that All Access does it all, including labor parties. Really quick, because I want to get on to
I'm having a baby too, Mike.
Yeah, right.
Myself.
Yeah, the Jenny Craig trio.
That's it.
Couple other people chime in. Clay Perry's hanging out.
My man. All right, Clay Perry. I gotta talk about Clay. I mean, oh man, it's like ridiculous. Clay is now in Nashville. What are you doing in Nashburg, bro? But Enrique, Julio Iglesias is piano player. Clay and I went to high school here in St. Petersburg, Performing Arts High School. And we were inseparable. He's a great piano player and producer. He's produced a million different records. I know he's just done one with, I used to play with him. I can't remember his name. Man, I'm having a problem tonight. Sam Moore, Sam and Dave. He just did the Sam Moore thing recently. That was beautiful. But Clay is a traveling man. And he was on Maynard's band with me. And he's done a million sessions and produced a million sessions, and he's just a great guy too. We gotta start playing with Clay again too. He's a good dude. So love you, buddy.
Yeah, Clay's hanging out in the chat here. Dan Potts is hanging out, saying always looking forward to Tuesday nights during these times.
Thanks, Dan.
Kenny Ingram. Actually, some people chimed in early in the conversation you were talking about. Kenny Ingram says, totally agree. There's already a real issue of musicians undercutting each other's rates for gigs. Billy Mank chimed in, don't devalue your own talents. Exactly. Ed Leone, never put yourself on sale. Know your worth and get what you're worth.
Ed Leone, what's up, Ed Lee? Ed and I used to play in I'll never forget, bro. We played a Chinese. I pass it all the time, too. It's closed now. We played a Chinese. We were in a club date band together. What was his Manny's Club Date Band. Ed's a great trombone player. He plays with Michael Del Giudice. He was the original member of the Chicago Tribute that Doug plays in. Beginnings. Mm-hmm. Chicago Tribute Band out of Long Island. Ed's a great trombone player, a great dude. But man, Ed, you and I haven't played and talked in ages. But I got to tell you, whenever I go past this place, and I stay at the same hotel when I'm in Manhattan, and it was the dish of salt was a Chinese restaurant. We used to play club dates with Manny, and I'll never forget. Talk about being dark. You and I had a couple drinks that night. And I remember both of us, we just took it left. We had a great time. But I remember that gig like it was, and that had to have been like 91, 92 when I was with Manny. So that's how long that goes back. Ed's, yeah, I love you, Ed, man. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Ed's hanging out. Mentioned earlier, Dan Miller's hanging out. James Capozzi checking in from Baldwin.
All right, James. Baldwin, man. Baldwin strong. Bring back Nunley's.
Hanging out in the YouTube chat, Elizabeth Hernandez.
All right, Elizabeth. You know her, I think, don't you?
I know her well. I think she's on the other side of that door right over there.
Cool.
She is quality control from the other room.
Yeah, so that means he's got to keep his shirt on and I got to keep my pants on. All right.
That visual component.
Damn it.
Marianne Stone's hanging out.
None of the South Shore Long Island, buddy. How you doing, Marianne?
Terry Saragelli says
Okay.
hello.
Hi.
Randall Monaco. Kenny Ingram, like I said. Bob Law is here. Bob actually asks a question. Do you stay in touch with a lot of your MF bandmates?
I try. We're lucky that when society is open again, we're going to miss a conference coming up. Well, this one's a trumpet conference. ITG is canceled, International Trumpet Guild. But every year there's always a couple conferences, music conference, whether it be a jazz conference. Then there's the NAM, which is a music merchandising conference that's in California every year. And then there's many different educational conferences that we go to. And there's always Maynard dudes there. I always run into Maynard guys. So that's usually when the hangs really happen. I talked to Dan Zank. Dan's helping us out too, producing Ted I. He was a piano player on Maynard's band. Occasionally I speak to Chris. Scott Engelbright came out to a Billy Joel show within this last year when he first moved to New York, so we hung with Scott. I speak to Frank Green probably. We probably text every couple of weeks and talk on the phone once a month. And then we have our soup hangs. Frank and I go get soup together when we're in Manhattan, so we do soup together. Trying to think, trombone players. Occasionally I speak to Tom Garling. It's been sooner than late. It's been later than sooner on that. One guy I speak to all the time I talked about earlier was the Octopus, Rano Swansky, great piano player on Maynard's band. Yes. So yeah, absolutely. That thing is like, it's a fraternity of brothers.
Yeah.
So
Mike also.
I'm sorry, Mike MacArthur.
And
we got Mike on the band in the late 90s, I want to say, or was it in the 2000s? I recommended him, and he came out and made me proud. He did a great job. Got along with everybody. Played his butt off. So yeah. Again, the world gets smaller with Maynard's band. It was a revolving door. It was, like I said, I was in and out for 12 years, and I was one of the fortunate guys because I could. When I wanted to come out, I always had a place to come out to, and not that I didn't want to go out, but you want to talk about value. I remember living in. It was Long Island. It wasn't Brooklyn too, but living in Long Island, having an apartment, going out. I wasn't making a lot of money. Maynard's band didn't pay a lot. It was jazz money, but it was, again, that was my schooling. That was, the school of hard knocks. I never for a million years would give that schooling up. But I remember, man, living in Long Island, I couldn't pay my rent. I had to put my stuff in storage and sell my car. My stuff was in a storage unit, and man, we'd be off the road, and I'd hang out at people's houses. I'd go to my parents' house for a month or a couple of weeks. I'd hang out at someone else's house until I get kicked out, and did that for a long time, on and off for 12 years. And the reason I bring this up is because it's kind of like it's a fraternity of guys, so to speak, and there was a lot of, some guys could make the hang and some guys couldn't. We're making a hang tonight. Some guys could make the hang and do very well on a band. Some other guys made one tour and were not welcome back. So I was very fortunate, though. If I had I remember the first time I got off the band, I think 6 of us left the band at one time. I remember Ronnie wanting to leave. Tom stayed. Tom was the only one that did stay. John Owens, great trumpet player in New York. I love John. John's on a million different records and big bands and Broadway shows in New York City. Craig Johnson, I think he's living down here in Florida now, another great trumpet player that was on Maynard's band. But what I'm saying is, we left the band, and if you left on a right note and there was a vacancy, man, you could go right back. And I did many times on purpose because I missed the camaraderie. I missed Maynard. I really did.
Yeah. A couple other things here, and then we'll move on. Ed says he came across your old Con sampler the other day.
My what?
Your old Con sampler.
Making me think, Ed. My Con sampler, dude. You got to text me. We got to text about this because now I'm
hanging with.
Now it hits me. Okay, I get it's my whole the CD from Con. I forgot about that. That's got to be it. Jeez, yeah. I did 4 tunes for CG Con when Vintage 1 trumpets came out. I was I did research and development for Con trumpets. I was really into the Constellations back then, and they weren't making them, but I found Constellation Bell. So anyway, long story short, doing these trade shows, Fred Powell, who was the chief designer of Con, was like, you know what? I had some tunes out, and Fred was very gracious, and was like, hey man, let's get this Vintage 1 trumpet and we'll pay for the CDs to be made. We'll make 4 or 5 tracks, and we'll give them away. And so they paid me they paid all the pressing, and I think they paid some session money, and I did a little sample. I forgot all about that, bro. It just hit me. And it's sitting in my, I have the sampler in my hallway somewhere.
Well, apparently it's still floating around out there. So.
Talk about that stuff sounds dated, bro. That was programmed. I think I programmed all that. I think Clay even programmed some of that with me. Oh no, Dan Zank. Dan Zank was programming it. Clay did the project prior to that, programming.
Very cool. Philip is asking, you always reference Joy Spring, so I know you have thoughts, but he's asking if you have any thoughts on the style of Clifford Brown.
He's one of the best articulation masters of the B-flat trumpet. Philip, just that tongue. That was the Joy Spring intro. That was a phrase that he played in the solo too. The way he articulated Clifford, articulated, man, was from a different head, man. He was very unique, I think. I studied that solo for 2 years. My Long Island comes out of me. Cecil Bridgewater was my trumpet teacher, my first jazz trumpet teacher. We played Clifford Brown, Joy Spring, transcription solo. That was it. I'm not reading the music. It's still ingrained in my head. But the way he articulated it, the way, was so different than coming out of the style of Dizzy Gillespie. And I wouldn't say so different, but just unique. When Clifford would play a phrase, it was Clifford. Same thing with Lee Morgan. When Lee would play, not as prominent as Clifford. When Dizzy would play, you would know it was Dizzy. But, Clifford, man, Clifford died in his mid-20s. He died way too early, and he was a brilliant, brilliant musician. His sound, his phrasing, his compositional skills, he was gone too soon, man. He was gone too soon, and the way he outlined the chords with his the way he outlined chord structures was just played, the the upper extensions, dominant 7s, the 9s, the 11s, the 13s, you know, all those colors. He was great at outlining colors of chords with articulation. He was gone way too soon.
Yeah, definitely. Luis Suarez says, "Hey, nice to see and hear you. Hopefully
Thank you.
Your family are safe. You sound great."
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mark Schwartz hanging out says, "I'm up for some Indian food."
Who's that? Mark? What?
It's the YouTube name is Marks and Schwartz.
Cool. Up for some Indian food? Tell me when.
Dan
Let's
Davis
go.
says you're the one that got him on to the Vindaloo.
Oh man, let's go. That's some hot stuff. Yeah, man, I'm missing some stuff. I'm actually cooking a lot now. As you know, I do these, we do these teasers. I'm cooking a lot. I'm gonna get some vindaloo happening one of these days. I gotta figure it out. I gotta speak to my big daddy, Ed Sargent, and have him hook me up some recipes.
I'll tell you, it's interesting you say that you're cooking now, because not that anybody cares what I'm doing, but ever since I've been stuck at home, because like you said, I got sick back in December, so I've been like self quarantining for ever.
Yeah. 6 months.
I'm hooked on these damn cooking shows. Gordon Ramsay, every single thing the guy puts out on YouTube, I'm like Sunday morning. I've got the injuries to prove it. Sunday morning, I was in like grating hash browns and doing a Gordon Ramsay recipe. I'm like turning into this weird cooking show person.
Yeah, man. If you let me tell you, bro, if you turn into Gordon Ramsay, I'm gonna come through this microphone and choke you, because I don't dig his vibe. You know who I dig though, and actually one of our managers with Billy knows him very well, Emerald Lagasse.
Yeah.
Emerald's vibe is so cool, and I don't think you came with us, man. He has. It's not. I think the place is called. It's Emerald's Restaurant in New Orleans. I think it's called New Orleans, or was it just called Emerald's? I don't remember. It's in the quarter, and every time we go, man, we eat like kings. But Emerald's. He's got the vibe to me, man. I know you gotta have a vibe, not that Gordon doesn't have a vibe. He has a vibe, but I want to choke him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Sorry, Gordon. I just want to choke you.
Supporting me. Nick chimed in saying Gordon Ramsay on how to make a good burger is amazing. Nick.
Okay. Well, I'm sure. I'm not saying he's a bad chef. I'm sure he's great. But can I choke him? That's all I'm asking.
Sure. Why not?
No. I mean, he probably kill me. He'd probably choke me back.
Have him come on the stream. We'll try it.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. The Hang Monster, Frank Bonici's hanging out.
Bonici. What's up, Frankie?
Let's see. Bob Cook, I mentioned already.
All right.
Todd...
Well, we hit all those guys. Let's play.
Yeah.
Let's do something. You want me to play a little bit, or you said you had something up your sleeve?
No, I got something new. So,
because I mean, we can talk all day with everybody, and we can still do that. But you got me intrigued on this new thing here, bro.
Yeah, we had a lot of great questions, so I know we went a little bit.
Thank you for that. Thanks, guys and girls.
I've been working on this when we get the questions that are very similar. So, like when people ask for a Billy story or a Maynard story. So I created something, and you're going to be excited.
Oh, here we go. Okay, this. Gordon, what do you got?
Are you ready? Everybody get ready for this. I'm all excited.
Come on, Gordon. Let's see what you got.
We have the Wheel of Fish.
Wheel of Fish.
I don't know whether to pat you on the back.
You guys are going to be excited about this. So, the Wheel of Fish is comprised of a bunch of different topics. And we can randomly spin the wheel, and then Carl has to either answer the question or comment in regards to the topic. So if you're seeing the wheel here, you've got everything from Billy Joel story time to a trumpet tip to a mouthpiece tip to a Maynard story time to career advice, a traveling story, something on range improvement. We had a couple questions about that earlier.
Okay.
even to stuff a little bit more general, like something that inspires you, or what are you listening to right now that might be cool for people to know about.
Yeah.
So we.
I'm
going to
get comfortable for this one.
Yeah, we have the Wheel of Fish, and I'm going to play the fanfare again just because it's cool.
Wheel of Fish.
It's the Wheel of Fish.
I'm a fish, all right.
So, are you ready for the inaugural spin of the Wheel of Fish?
All right, Ramsey. Let it fly there, Ramsey.
All right, here we go. The initial Wheel of Fish spin. Here we go.
Woo-hoo.
Oh, okay. The first topic of discussion for the Wheel of Fish, and these can be 10-second comments or 10-minute comments, whatever you feel.
Oh boy.
We landed on range improvement, which is good because there was a question in the chat that I hadn't been able to get to yet in regards to that.
It's 10 to 11. Well, first, should I do what first comes to my mind? It might not be the most PG thing, though. Dizzy Gillespie.
So.
Yeah, Dizzy Gillespie story is someone asked him the same question. He goes, "It comes from your butt." range comes from your butt. Your diaphragm's connected to your sphincter muscle. All kidding aside, and he actually has believe it or not, actually, he said not for you. It comes from your ass. There's a video of that. He goes, "It comes from your ass." I watch it all the time. He goes, and his wife, he's like, he got in trouble from his wife, which I'll probably get in trouble from my wife when she hears this. He goes, "Why did you say that?" He goes, "But, really physically, it's connected in a way. Your diaphragm, it's all about air manipulation. I don't have a special set of chops. They vibrate. My lips, everybody has, God willing, you have two lips, they vibrate, they buzz. But it's air manipulation, being able to change your air streams, and not putting excess pressure. There's always going to be pressure on your chops, but not putting excess pressure, pulling in and stopping the vibration. Very simple. Again, what works for me, I can sit here and talk 5 hours on it, but the basic concept of, it's hard to, everybody's in a different place with range, but 9 times out of 10, I can basically tell you it's air manipulation, getting your air from the right source, not shallow up here, not here, getting it, when you have an energy demand, as Maynard would say, getting it from your diaphragm, from your lower extremities, your lower stomach, your back, being able to use that air speed and velocity in the correct way and not choking it down. And I get a kick, not choking it down in your throat, choking it down, or having like a high, or very small sound, and not stopping the vibration on the lip. I get a kick out of this. This is what gets me, especially now on the internet, guys playing high notes, Like, oh wow, I hit a high F. Like, you don't hit a note unless it's a note. And what I mean by that is not loud, but full. So to make that horrible sound, and a lot of guys are doing that up an octave, up, or up to D's and E's over double C, and I shake my head because it's so funny to me. But it's that choking down sound, with the high tongue. So just having an open air column. Instead of playing that A, pinched. No, just air. It's there. It's, and mind you, I'm not gigging. I don't have, steady chops right now. I wish I did, because I'm not, I don't really have a goal right now other than to hang out with you guys. But what I'm saying is, if you're going to play a note, have it open, have it, pretty, not. No one wants to hear that pinching, thing. So full, open. And again, I have no chops. So, but that's, the idea of, Pavarotti opera, just big and fat. Michael Del Giudice. You hear him do Nessa Dorma in Madison Square Garden, and he's got this big sound, and he's using his air correctly. It's the same thing as a vocalist as a wind player, manipulating your air and having everything open and resonant. So it's a big word.
Hey, I think it was a good response for the inaugural spin of the Wheel of Fish.
Wheel of Fish.
Oh, you know what? Now I know what you're doing on your quarantine.
Wheel.
Hey, so can I call you Vanna White?
You want the visual?
All
right, let's spin the wheel.
Vanna, you've changed.
Oh, hey, Goomby's hanging out. What's up,
Goom? What's up, Gooms?
Yeah.
I love that mother flower. What's up, Goomby? Funkiest percussionist, piano player. Go eat some rice and beans with him and laugh. Play some music with him, laugh. He's the best. Goom.
All right. The wheel is spinning.
Oh boy. God bless you.
We have landed on Billy Joel story time.
Yeah. It's these things are, yeah.
We'll adjust.
They're hard to do because it's kind of in the moment. I could talk about Maynard all day long because it is past tense. Mm-hmm. I love talking about Billy too. I always come back to Billy. And I'll mention this story again because it's like people ask me what your favorite song is of Billy's or whatever. It's whatever's on my mind at the present time, and Gooby will attest to that. Sometimes when you're an improviser or whatever, it's just fly by the seat of your pants. So this is my seat of my pants. Last week, I talked about this last weekend on last episode, that Robin Hood thing that they did on I think it was on NBC, taking things for granted. I'm just telling a Billy story, whatever. I'm just telling you my point of view. I take for granted sometimes. I catch myself. I don't do it all the time. But I've played Miami 2017, which is a Billy Joel composition, now for 14 and a half years. Played it a number of times. And, it's a great song. It's great. He goes on Robin Hood. Was it Robin Hood, right? That was
Yeah, it was sponsored by Robin Hood. Yeah.
What was the name of the thing? That was... Robin Hood Special.
Yeah.
I'm getting confused with something else. It was Robin Hood Special, right? There, Batman?
Yeah.
All right, good. There, Robin. So he ends the show with Miami 2017. Just piano and himself. I heard lyrics and words I never heard before. And I've been on the bandstand with him for that long. They just had different meaning. And they kind of... I'm like, that's really what he's singing? You just take tune, not that you're not paying attention on a gig, mm-hmm. but that tune floored me that night, and the way it was choreographed and produced, with empty Broadway and, shots of the Empire State Building and Garden and all that stuff is, so I can tell you what you see is what you get with Billy Joel. He is the man's man. He's the perfect model for is what you see is what you get. Here I am, You know, don't take no shit from anybody, but be cool. You know, he's, you know, self-deprecating, which I love because I am the same way. But when it comes down to really laying it on the line, you know, hey man, he just laid it on the line, playing piano and singing by himself at the end of that thing. You know, he's just a bad dude, and everything I've seen him do, he does it to the nines. You know, he does it 100%. You know, from his organization down from Steve Cohen, from Steve Cohen and Brian Ruggles and Max Loubier, and you know, Bobby Thrasher and all the production, and Mike Grizel and Liz Monahan, and then all the crew guys, you know, Wayne Williams and Chainsaw, and you know, there's just so many great personalities, down to Pops, the truck driver, and Stranger, the truck driver. We have a truck driver named Stranger. Everybody is there because they're handpicked, and Billy knows, you know, it's the cream comes from the top, and there's no bottom. It's across. Everybody's an equal. You know, what you see is what you get, man. He's just, you know, I'm going on a fanboy thing, but
Yeah,
it's the
good.
truth. It is, you know, comment comes across all the time. You guys really having that much fun on stage? Yes.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough. We had Crystal Telefera, two times ago, 2 episodes ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
None of that stuff is, you know, it's live. It's not Memorex. It's not taped. It's real. It's, you know, and I'm going to bring in some other guests. You know, I want to bring in some guys and girls still, with this organization and other organizations that have that same mentality, because I really think it's just, you know, people love real stuff. I mean, I do. I don't want to see anything fake. That's just kind of where I'm at.
Yep. Marianne chimed in. It was called Rise Up New York. Thank you, Marianne, for that.
Thank you, Marianne.
Michael DeGatana.
Diganta.
Okay.
Deeganta.
Gegatana.
Yeah, Diganta. That's my man, Mike. That's my man from Jersey. That his dad. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mike's dad drove a bus for Maynard Ferguson, and Mike used to come out when he was a kid. Mike's about my age, so I didn't know him when he was a kid, but I got to know Mike very well. Mike's great guy, and yeah, if I'm correct, this is the right Mike I'm talking about. His dad used to drive from Maynard back in the day. I bet you he has some stories. How you doing, Mikey? Sorry, I went off. You just hit me on name.
No, it's okay. It's he says a little different twist on Dan Potts' mention of concert hangs. After a BS&T, Blood, Sweat, and Tears show, me and my 2 cousins came down to the stage to chat with Carl. Security came, started to clear us out. Carl said that we were family, so they could stay. Needless to say, we felt the warmth and also really enjoyed the whole show. So nice little story there from Michael.
Mike, my man, Mike. Mike also came. Steven, you know Mike too. Mike came to. We were playing. Man, this was a fun gig. Man, this is crazy. How this. I look forward to these things, so my memory gets jogged. We did Scranton Jazz Festival with my Nouveau Big Band, which was playing a lot of Maynard arrangements, not as popular ones. We did Birdland, of course you got to do Birdland, but the rest of them we kind of threw in some different tunes. Mike came and hung hard with us. Him and his lovely wife came and hung, but I think that was the first gig you played on with me on. That was Dave Trigg and Raul Legras was the trumpet section.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that you. That was the first gig I think we played together.
Yep.
In years.
Yeah.
He was there. Mike was there.
Michael says Dad was the tour driver of the first of the British band.
Wow, I love this. I love how the internet puts us together.
Right? That's cool.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Thanks
I remember your dad. I remember you hanging with your dad. This was a long time ago. It's when I first met you. And I remember he loved Maynard and Maynard loved him, man. It was cool. So that was the Ernie Garside days. Ernie was the manager. Now it's coming back. Ernie was the manager with the British band. I knew Ernie well.
Mm-hmm.
What fun.
Nick says, Carl, it was a blast playing with you in Texas last year. Oh, Nick from North Texas.
My man Nicky,
Yeah.
lead chops for days. Fox hunt Nicky.
Yep.
Nicky is the man. I love that. Nick, what's happening, bro?
Yeah.
Nick is. I heard you moved to New York. You graduated in North Texas, and then I heard you're back in North Texas. This guy, there's not. Lead trumpet players. We're, for lack of a better word, we're all lugheads. Higher, faster, louder. But what makes them special is playing music well, with nuance, and Nick has that. So not only does he have the higher, faster, louder thing, he can make music. He could phrase. He's very eloquent the way he phrases, and so I dug that about Nick. But one thing I'm going to tell you this. This is a funny story with Nick. At rehearsals, Alan Baylock is the University of North Texas Lab 1 band, which is the best band they have, award-winning. From my personal opinion, is the best one of the best college bands around. It always has been. Nick, we were rehearsals, and Nick was pasting stuff. Well, at the rehearsal the day before, like killing it. Like, I'm like, oh my God, okay, he's showing off. All right, yeah, he's showing off. All right. I'm like, man, he sounds great. So now remember the following day we had a rehearsal too at the venue, right, Steven? And I'm an old man. I'm playing, I tell everybody, I tell the brass section, trombones and trumpets, we have a gig tonight, chill out. I know everybody can play. Don't kill yourself. And all of a sudden I hear like a double C, I hear a double B, I hear a G. I'm like looking at Nick like, what's wrong with this kid? He's going to be the 5-minute hero. He's going to fall. He's going to, like Maynard call everybody the 5-minute hero. You sound good for 5 minutes and then your stamina ends. And so I actually went to Alan Baylock, the director. I'm like, what's up with Nick, the lead player? What's up with him? Why? I just told everybody to chill out. He's going to kill himself. He goes, dude, he's the only guy I know that he gets, the more he plays up there, the stronger he gets. I'm like, huh? He goes, yeah, he gets stronger as he goes. I'm like, really? I'm like, okay. I know that if you're playing correctly, like Maynard would say, man, he knew when he played with the energy, when at the end of a gig, I said this story a few times, he knew he was playing right where he had more chops at the end of the gig, and actually his socks were sweating. His whole body was just a pool of sweat. It's not a pretty thing. But that reminded me of the Maynard thing. I'm like, okay. And I had nights where, all cylinders are going, and I strive on a Billy gig. At the end of the night, I got to play some double C's, and it's a 2.5 hour gig, and I might be playing tenor. And so it's always a mind game and trying to be efficient on these horns. And so I'm saying to myself, all right, well, the proof's going to come out. And so Nick and I had to play the Fox Hunt together, solo, and he came up and played great. And sure as hell, man, at the end of the gig, he was stronger than he was in the beginning of rehearsal. And this guy he's a force to be reckoned with. He's a great guy. I get 20% of all his gigs from now on. Nick, you didn't know that, but send me a check. 20% of everything you do from now on, bro. No, we love you, Nick. Cool. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, man. Thanks for hanging, Nick. Well, we've actually been going for quite a while, so I'm going to preemptively end the Wheel of Fish. Okay. For this time, it was a good trial run, I think.
Yeah.
So we'll play around. If you guys actually have any ideas that you want to add to the Wheel of Fish, shoot us a comment or a message, and we'll see if they get past the CF approval to make the Wheel of Fish.
I can't read, bro. I can't read. You know that.
But there's a couple other people that chimed in that I'm gonna call out.
Hit me. Yeah, let's hit them and hit them and quit them.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Matt Letters on asking if you're picking up any students during this time. You have lots.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not, Mike. I mean Matt. Sorry, that's my microphone. Matt. Mike. No. And I gotta tell you, man, like I said in the beginning of this thing, I got more people telling, I got more students coming to me saying that they're getting information from this guy that's telling them to do this, and they're getting whacked with their chops. You know, people who haven't really taught or played that are now becoming internet sensations that now are becoming great teachers. You know, I'm not getting students and stuff like that. Yeah, would I like to do it? Yes, I would. But you know what? Right now, it's not the time. You know, people are not making money. I'm not going to stress people out with money. You know, that's why I'm doing this. This is a free thing. If I can help out, great. But I'm tired of these 5-minute freaking, I'm getting a little heated now because I've seen it happen so many times now. I got, you know, college kids that can't play, a Thad Jones Mel Lewis chart correctly, and they're giving lessons. And, you know, I'm saying that they shouldn't, you know, if they're giving lessons to somebody that can help out, great. But give them the right information. So I've got some emails and some things recently where, you know, guys are coming with, you know, this guy said I have to play a 1C and I have to play everything on a 1C, and you have to play a 1C? I'm just like, what have you done? What's your resume like? So this is my lesson, bro. Here I am. It's real. Love you, Matt. Matt's a great educator, and Matt keeps it real. That's why I can talk to Matt this way. Mm-hmm. So, you know, everybody, you know, the trumpet community is a very small community. It's also very incestuous, meaning what one guy says is a version of what another guy says, and you know, so it feeds on itself, and it could be really, really good or really detrimental to younger players. So, you know, remember that there's not one way to do something. You know, if your teacher tells you have to play a 7C or a 1C, you know, and you have to play the Hummel and Haydn trumpet concerto, and then you got to play a lead book and play double G's, but you have to play a Bach 37 on a 7C, and that's all you have to do.
Yep.
Time to figure something else out.
Definitely. Andrew Gospard says, I miss performing with you at the Nassau College concerts. It's been many years. Andrew's
a great tenor player, man. Andrew's a talented guy. He's a hang monster. Andrew and a hang monster, Frank Bonici. We used to play in a big band together at Nassau Community College, and then the late great George Bouchard, who actually taught at Jamie Ambersol camps. Jamie Ambersol, great educator. Mm-hmm. George was a great teacher and tenor player. And Andrew studied with him. I played in his big bands as long as Frank did, and I did a lot of clinics. Actually, the first clinic I think I did, even prior to being on Maynard's band, not the first, but one of the first, was with George Bouchard. He brought me into Nassau Community College. I didn't go there, but he believed in me. He says, you have a natural thing for helping out kids. He says, come and hang and play in a big band, and occasionally we'll do concerts and clinics, and I want you to do them with me. And he paid me, and Andrew came out of that. I remember meeting Andrew, and Joe DeFiglia was another guy, a great tenor player. Frank can chime in too. We, you know, and then we had we had Rex. What was the tenor baritone saxophone player? Was it Stan? And Larry on trombone. You know, there was always good players in that band. And if they weren't great, it didn't matter, because we just tried to play music and have fun together, and we did. So yeah, Andrew came out of that, and he's a monster. Hope you're doing well, brother. It's been a while.
Nick says, thanks for the kind words, Carl. Also says amen to that advice in regards to, you know, who you get advice from.
All right, so I'm not the only one. I'm not smoking crack here thinking I'm, you know, being intense to be intense, but it's the truth. I can't, you know, I see these trumpet forums popping up out of nowhere, and this one thing is really nice. I like the name of it, the Positive Trumpet Players thing, and there's some really nice positive things, but then also other things I'm pulling up, not on that site, but just in general. I'm like, it's too much information, bro. Come on, relax. Play some music.
Yeah.
All right.
Matt chimes in and says, definitely hear you. Keep on keeping on. Frank says Larry and Eric.
Who said that? What? Frank said Larry and Eric.
Eric.
All right. So Frank, who was the guy was like 100 years old 30 years ago. He played baritone. He played baritone, and he was so old he couldn't carry it. He had a cart. He used to come in with like a wheelbarrow with the baritone. Oh, Stan, what was his name? That was a fun band.
It's on a little delay, so.
What's that?
It's on a little bit of a delay, so if he answers, he's saying Murray.
That was.
Is it Murray?
Murray. No, it wasn't Murray. Murray played tenor.
Marty.
I don't know. I might not remember either. I know. I just remember him coming in, man, and being like 100 years old and makes the rehearsal. Yeah. You know, that's the thing too. You don't have to play with. It's always great to play with great players, and you make it a point to play with players that are better than you, because you're always going to hear something, and they're gonna bring you along. That was my thing when I was young, playing with better players than me. I never wanted to be the best player. But that being said, too, also play to play. Like I would play in CW Post. I played in another community college band. Actually, CW Post was a university in Long Island. And I played in that big band. Alex Stewart was the director. I played in that big band for a couple of years. And that was a very good band. But point being, too, I played in a lot of different bands that some were way over my head and some weren't. And that was okay, because I got, like we were talking about before, I got exposed to sight reading different music. I got exposed to the hang very early on. If this guy's having a hard time playing third trumpet, a lot of times I'd like to sit on the fourth trumpet book. It was fun. I loved playing second too. I love that. But really getting into the situation of being a good section mate and a good band member too. The band doesn't have to be smoking. Putting yourself in those situations and making those situations work. But there's been some great, like I said, Post was a fun band. Nassau Community College was a fun band. Play as much as you can.
Yeah, man. Andrew says his baritone was always on a stand.
Yeah, that's right. He played it on the stand. Oh, what was his name? I can't remember his name.
He says he believes it was Murray. Marty was on
Was it Murray?
drums. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm thinking about Rex. Okay, it was Murray and Rex. What was Rex? Rex was the tenor player. Okay, I got it together.
Yeah, and then Marty on drums.
Who's that?
Marty on drums, he says.
Okay, Marty.
But anyway, man, I know we're a little over 2 hours right now, so I mean, I know we could keep going with everybody.
Well, give me 2 more questions and make them opposite. Make one. Just because I'm on a roll here, and I always hate the reason why we did this, and Stephen will attest to this. For the last 3 weeks we've had guests, and it's been wonderful. But a lot of these questions throughout the last 3 episodes have come up, and I feel a lot of times it's not really appropriate when I have a guest. They don't want to talk about trumpet types of things or big band types of things. If you're a pop singer or what have you, or a trumpet. Player or not a trumpet player, whatever. So I want to hit a couple things, and so we're probably going to do another guest next week, but I think every three or four guests that we have, or maybe 3, we'll do one of these sessions, because it always comes up, right? We get a lot of interesting questions. So give me a daikon, give me a hypotenuse. It's a big word too. Give me something different. Give me one different and one down the middle.
Yeah, we've actually hit a lot of them. Todd Tamborelli is asking if you have a favorite style of horn to play.
Yeah, the CF horn.
Yeah, right. Which you could buy. No, just kidding.
Hey, Todd. Starts on the right with that trombone there. It's Maynard Ferguson Superbone. Starts there. Starts at 1920. Goes to 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. Those are all my horns, starting from French Bessons all the way up to Yamahas. There's 35 of them. What am I playing? An unlacquered CF trumpet. This audition for the job. This is not a shameless plug. I can play any horn I want. I have every horn I want. I'm very fortunate. very fortunate. I have a collection of horns that I've learned on and learned different styles on. The CF horn for me does what I want. For me now, gives me the flexibility to play what comes out of my messed up congealy head. It works for me, and it has a lot of the attributes of the old constellations, the smaller bore, the big bell. So I'm very proud of what we did with Terry Warburton and Steven. We're one horn short of making 30. The only advertisement we have done is on social media. I think we've been in one magazine. There's been no ad push, nothing like that. When I was with Yamaha, I had Yamaha make me 2 custom horns that were based loosely, the CF horns based loosely off those Yamahas throughout the Constellation arc. So I would say Constellation, Vintage 1, French Besson prior to that. Everything is kind of rolled down and evolved. And so to me, this has got the best of all of those things. And I put it up to any of these horns, and man, it does what I need, and I dig it. And like I said, I'm very proud of that. 30 is not a big number, but every one of them I'm involved with. And when they leave the factory, I will take any of those horns and play them on any gig. And actually. So, and the reason why my horn looks so ugly is I have yet to send it out to get plated. I have 2 of them that are unplated still. So, there's always room for improvement. I'm always looking for something to improve on the horns. And that's just the nature of the beast, I think, being a trumpet player and always trying to strive for something, as Maynard says, strive for tone. And so, do I think a CF horn or a Constellation or a MF horn or a Monet's going to fix your issues if you're not playing correct? It's not. It's just another tool to color the canvas, So, for years, I know guys that have played on student model Bundy trumpets, and you'd never know it was not a professional horn. They sounded great. So it's just getting that sound out and having the tool to be more comfortable. So
nice.
That's my horn spiel. Thanks, Todd.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Todd.
And thanks, Steven, you've been influential. I mean, you have horn number 1. I have 000. You have horn 1. You've and you deal with the customers one-on-one a lot of times. So maybe you can chime in. Is there anything I'm leaving out? I think I pretty much hit it, but
yeah, I mean, I think it's the biggest comments that we get is just the efficiency of it, which comes from those
Bobby shoehorn, a Yamaha shoehorn, medium bore.
I mean, for me, I love the fact that I can feel the resonance of the horn in my left hand.
Yeah,
you feel the sound being made, and it's to me that it's pretty cool because it's a feedback. It's like when you're in a loud club and you put your finger over your ear and you're able to hear yourself better. You're almost getting that feedback through your body, not just through your ears, which I really like. But
that's interesting. It's visceral. Yeah. I mean, it's almost it's a feeling that you get. And, part of the reason why we do that, and notice, going on a stadium stage with Billy Joel is like a jet engine. I have in-ears in, so I need as much help as I can get with just feeling. That's why I love a big bell. I like the rejection back, the vibration, and the core that comes back in my face. Every little bit helps. So
cool. Marianne is asking, do you play your CF horn with Billy? Yep.
Of course, yeah, Marianne. That thing is with me all the time. I travel with one on my back all the time, and I have one in the road case in case I bust one. And I busted. I'm clumsy. I bust things all the time. So one of the reasons, same thing with my mouthpieces and horns is I always have to have, Mark Rivera helped me out with this too a lot. Always have a backup for a backup. Because things happen. I mean, that's part of the reason why my Superbone, my Maynard Ferguson trombone, It's called a super bone. It's not sexual. It sounds horrible. My super bone
Jeez.
doesn't go on the road no more. I'm afraid if that thing breaks and falls, that's the end of it. And it fell once, and that's when it went in the. It's now in my studio for good.
Mhm.
But you know, so I always have an extra one, and my deal is with my mouthpieces and horns, they have to, the consistency has to be there, and you know that's what we strive for, is the consistency. You know,
Yeah.
they might be a little different. Everything has it and is organic. You know, I mean, I have a little different. You know, timbre. One might be, you know, but they still play. I get them to the point where the horns play. They're efficient and they play great. I would play any of them, you know, at any time.
And you do.
So that's yeah, I do, because I've busted quite a bit. You know, I went through a phase, man, where I was just ripping horns apart and dropping them, and just the last one was we're doing a quick out. I don't know if was it Mexico? No, it wasn't Mexico. We do quick outs, which with Billy, from the last tune, you basically, you know, you run off the stage, and I don't have time to even put my horn in the case. I run to the vans. We run to our cars, and you know, usually we get out as quick as we can because of traffic, and a lot of times when we're getting out, things are flying, and the horn flew across the van, man, and got trashed. The bell got trashed, and yeah, so you always have to have a backup.
All right, so last question. You asked for something that it's completely different here. Joe Schneider is asking, well, first of all, he says you both went to Milburn a year
Oh,
apart.
cool. Milburn School. Yeah, Joe. All right.
And he's asking any advice to a 10-year-old just finishing her first year of playing trumpet.
Any advice for a 10-year-old? You know, before we get there, I'm going to yell at you, Steven.
Yeah,
we
man.
did a video, and, you know, we haven't talked about it in 6 months. It was geared for 10-year-olds because I had two 10-year-olds, my friends' kids, and we gave tips. And I don't remember what those tips were right now. But remember, we did a whole video of it, like for my friend Jason's kid, who was 10, Sheldon. And we did one for Sheldon and one for Rachel. I think my
Yeah, I think we sent those to them through text. I don't know that I even have.
Did we send them out? We got to find them. We got to find them and share them. You know, I think to my goddaughter Rachel, I think. Also, and Sheldon and Luke, and Luke is like 8. So yeah, getting good habits. I mean, I'm going to paraphrase the thing that we did on a video. We got to share that out though, because that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because you know me, I'm really about concepts, and being 10 years old, concepts are good, but can be a little bit hard to understand. So my advice for a 10-year-old is first thing is, if it hurts, stop playing. Do not play through pain. And usually that pain is attributed to pulling the trumpet and mouthpiece so hard in, or pressing in as hard as you can to where you stop the vibration. And you almost get a Charlie horse. If you get a Charlie horse in your leg or a dead arm, you know, you kind of feel numb. As soon as you get past that numbness and you feel pain, stop playing. Do not play through pain. Don't try to be macho. That's, you know, you only have one lip. That's the first thing. Let the air do the work. Concept would be, watch if you have a dog in your house or a dog in your neighborhood. It's a good chance you have one. Go watch that dog when he's panting. When that dog, he or she is panting, that's the way you want to breathe when you're playing trumpet. You want to breathe, you're panting. Watch his stomach. Watch the dog's stomach. That's where you're getting your air from. You're not getting your air from your cheeks. You're not getting it from up here. You're getting a deep yawn. And that's the air that's going to power your horn. Not these lip muscles. They have to buzz. So get into good habits. You know, listen for your sound. Try to get a nice, pure sound. You know, work on your sound. Be slow. The things that you don't want to do when you're 10 years old, be slow and tedious. You know, play a long tone. Play one note for as long as you can, and keep that tone steady and constant. Do not have it take a middle G. Instead of where it's unsupported and wavy, take that G and try to play that G and keep a steady stream. Until it falls off, and then take a breath. Take long tones, try to develop your sound. Because your band director, I love band directors, but the goal of the band director is to put music in front of you so you can play for the concert. So you're going to be banging out these marches and these great songs and play along with the band. That's fine, but if you can get into good habits and use your air and listen to your sound and develop good habits of playing long tones and some flexibility things, and be patient and watch that dog breathe from his diaphragm when he's panting. And that's the way you want to kind of manipulate your air. So those are a couple of things you should look at. And don't play, if it hurts, you're playing too much and you're doing something wrong, you're probably putting too much pressure on your chops, on your lips, so watch that. That's very, that will end your career very quickly, because a lot of people don't want to play. I don't want to play when it hurts. So
Yep.
Hopefully that answered it.
Nice. Thanks for the question, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Milburn strong. So that being said, it's 11:30.
Yeah, man. I think we put a bow on it.
Yeah, it was funny because the Wheel of Fish was very fun. So
you just want to hear the fanfare again, don't you?
No. That cheesy synth? No, it's good, man. I know you. It sounds good. You worked on. It's cool. Yeah, I like the Wheel of Fish. No, it's cool. I dig it. And I look forward to these Tuesdays, man. I don't know how you feel about it, Steven, but
yeah, it's fun, especially when we get a chat going like today. Everybody's been really active in the chat the whole
awesome.
Time. I mean, we're 2.5 hours in, and people are still talking, so it's awesome.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us on this Tuesday night. We will be around next Tuesday at 9 p.m. sharp, with or without a guest. We're going to work on that tomorrow. Maybe we'll have some, we're going to have I want an underwater basket weaver named, that also cooks like Gordon Ramsay. Maybe we can find out if he wants to show up or not.
You belong
he'll end up
near
choking me. What's that? What?
So you belong nowhere near a kitchen.
Yeah. Get out of the kitchen. What are you, stupid? No, well, I'm going to let Steven do some housework, and I am going to go walk my dog now. This is the life of a rock and roll trumpet player. I'm going to go walk my dog at 11:30 at night. But I appreciate you guys coming. We'll see you next Tuesday. Be kind, be well, be safe, wear a mask, and we'll catch you. We appreciate the hang. Be well. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. As always, just to kind of wrap things up, thank you for participating in the chat. If you do happen to watch on YouTube, hitting that subscribe button definitely helps us out. YouTube definitely increases our ability to be seen by other people, the more subscribers that you have. So it's awesome when you guys take the time to do that. So much appreciated. And for everybody on Facebook and Twitter and Periscope, and actually we even streamed on Twitch for the first time tonight. So hopefully we'll get some different and new audience to come over and hang with us. But thank you guys very much, and we will see you next Tuesday. Thanks, guys.